Live and in color from DFW International Airport in Texas. It's Runway DFW, the new YouTube channel dedicated to bringing you live action from one of the world's busiest airports. My name is Walt Torco, but that's not important right now. What is important is that we start zooming in on the activity from our broadcast perch here at DFW Founders Plaza. Well, welcome into another episode of Runway DFW. We're happy to have you with us. And it's Saturday afternoon, December, what is today? December 11th, 2021. And at this time, it's just after 2:30 p.m. As promised, here we are. So that gives you the time check. That tells you where we are. Let's give you the conditions here at DFW Airport. It is chilly. It's not too bad. It's probably seasonal for a December afternoon. But yesterday at this time, were we to have been here, it would have been about 30 degrees warmer. Right now it's in the mid-50s. Yesterday, we were talking about 80s here at DFW. There is the skyline of Dallas behind those planes, which are over on the east side of the airport. We're on the west side, and we're gonna take a look and see what's going on right now. I do see over yonder, and we'll zoom in on it here so you can see it too. It's the Qatar Airways FIFA World Cup livery, which is parked there. I don't believe that's scheduled to go out until after our broadcast will have ceased. It'd be nice to see that go up, but I don't think we'll get to see that today. Now, as far as what we can see, we're going to be zooming into an American Airlines Flight 353, 737-800, which is coming in from Puerto Vallarta. Now, the operations are coming in from the south today at DFW, and we're at the north end, so our view is not as good as it might otherwise be because they're landing so far away from us. If we zoom in any more, we're getting blurry pictures. Puerto Vallarta is one of the top destinations for traffic from DFW, top international destinations, I should say. I think it's in the top 5. Coming in from behind it, we've got the same type of aircraft, a 737-800, which will be joining us from Houston Hobby. It's American Flight 1472, and the only way I can see it from where we are with my eyeballs is the light on the front of the plane. There it is. Our super zoom is not being very cooperative today. So as I said, the winds are out of the north today, which accounts for the chilliness in the air, but at least it's sunny, or at least mostly sunny. And so the wind from the north, the aircraft are coming in from the south, and they're taking off from the south as well. So I apologize that we're not as up close as we normally are when the planes are conducting operations from the north end. As far as cargo operations today, we have the usual complement of UPS aircraft ready to go. There are two MD-11 tri-jet jumbos. There's one there. And as we go across over here, you'll find the other one over there. Those are always interesting to go up, to watch climb into the sky. The ones I've seen recently from here, it looks like they go straight up. I don't know if it's that third engine that gives them the boost, or maybe they're not quite as loaded as they come in, or as they depart from DFW. Maybe they come in with more in their bellies. Reach obstructions from our vantage point here at DFW Founders Plaza. That was American Flight 3779. That's on its way to Madison. Well, it's probably an American Eagle. We do have, coming in from Los Angeles, a American Flight 2853. This is a Dreamliner. So even though we're far away, it's at least a little bigger for us to see. If only I could see it on my little screen here. And so yeah, I've got to come back that far before it comes into focus. From this angle and from the sun angle, we really get to see those puffs of smoke as the tires impact the runways. We're going to shift our focus over here. And that little Embraer 145 is off to Brownsville. It's an American Eagle flight. Where'd we go? Oh, I know I saw a couple of aircraft over there. We do see planes regularly coming out of, from what looks to be your right. There's an American Airlines hangar just south of the UPS facility. We're going to zoom in now on a 777. It's an American Flight 71 coming in from Frankfurt. And if you haven't joined us here on Runway DFW before, you may have noticed something. There's a lot of American Airlines aircraft at this location. It is the headquarters of American Airlines are just to the south of the airport here. And American has a commanding presence at the airport. As that Frankfurt bird launches, there's an A321. My flight radar isn't telling me where it's off to. willkommen to the passengers from Frankfurt. You see those towers behind that plane? That is Cedar Hill, Texas, where most of the television and FM radio broadcast stations transmit their signals from. We don't have much terrain here in this part of Texas, but Cedar Hill is elevated above much of the rest of what is essentially flat land, so that's where all the stations put their transmitting towers. Double barrel action there with American aircraft transiting the west runways while there's a little pause in the action. That last plane we saw going up was an American flight 1537, an A321 on its way to Las Vegas, which is the second most popular destination from this big airport. Well, wherever you're watching from, we welcome you to Runway DFW, your home for live airport action here at the big airport. There's kind of a lull in the action here, so let us flip over to our explanatory aerial view of DFW Airport. And we'll make that be big for you to see. Okay, the little Runway DFW dot is where we are, which is at DFW Founders Plaza on the north side of the airport. We overlook the two west runways here at DFW. Coming in from this end, they're 18 right and 18 left, but the planes are coming in on the other end, which is 36 left and 36 right. We overlook two terminals here, terminals B and D. Terminals A, B, and C are all American Airlines exclusive terminals. No other, they have all the gates at those terminals. Terminal E is where the other domestic airlines can find a gate to park at. And Terminal D is the international terminal, which is the biggest terminal here. And of course it handles all the customs and everything that aircraft need to come and go. There you can see on the and there's three runways, well, there's two parallel runways here on the west side. There's three parallel runways over on the east side. One is kind of offset from the other. And then there are two diagonal runways which can accommodate traffic in overflow situations. So that's the overview at DFW International Airport. So let's go back to our full shot here. And yes, talk about a lull. We have one right now. Why, I do not know. But we do have something coming in from the south. We'll see if we can get our zoom working there. It's an American Eagle flight 4116 from Columbia. South Carolina, I'm guessing. Been in the air for about 2.5 hours. It's an Embraer 175, and I can see its light. And we'll see what we can do here with a zoom in. Our focus seems to be getting worse. This is zoomed in 30 times, 32 times to be exact. I'm afraid if I go in any further, it's going to get blurred. And it is. We have a takeoff here, I think. Oh no. Yes? Sorry, I'm a little, between the bright sun and the distances involved, I thought that was another aircraft taking off, but that's the one that just landed. Silly me. There's one that's lining up for takeoff now. You can see it through the haze. And that looks to be an A321, American Airlines 646, which is going to Tulsa. As soon as it spins around, we'll watch it going up in the sky. You're watching Runway DFW, live coverage of the happenings at DFW Airport on this Saturday, December 11th. I lost that guy. As you can hear, there's people here who come and watch aircraft as well. It's a little park area. There's benches. There's people come and walk their dogs, bring their kids. And we're kind of fortunate from this perch because, as you can see, the security fence, which in this case has attracted a paper plate, the security fence is below our vantage point. We're kind of on a bluff here, so we've got a very clear view of the runway. There's no obstructions for more than a 180-degree view. In fact, if I parked myself a little further out, I'd have even more of a clear view, but I like to keep the equipment here on a concrete base for stability. Here's the plane to Tulsa, and yeah, it looks a little hazy there. I think that's partly the lens not focusing and partly some heat waves coming from the tarmac. We've got a few planes lined up for takeoff now. Looks like they're all American brands, either American or American Eagle. And we should be about ready to take off for Tulsa here in just a sec. waiting for a plane to cross the runway. American Eagle plane, which is on its way to the American hangars. You'll see it there. There it goes. And so with that operation complete, this Tulsa-bound aircraft will take flight. You are watching Runway DFW live from Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. Thanks for watching, whether it's live or on Memorex. We encourage you to like and subscribe to our little broadcast here. That'll help us grow. Give us more visibility on YouTube. We have an arrival to announce. It's American Flight 1225 from Cabo San Lucas. Cabo is another top destination from DFW. It's number 5. Well, at least it was in 2019 when I picked up those statistics. Now for some bus spotting. Never seen that bus before. I think that's a passenger bus. I don't know if they have any buses for passengers. Well, I guess they must for emergencies, but maybe that's for crews. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to do a little focusing test now. It's one of those things you get to see, you don't get to see on real TV, right? It's kind of behind the scenes thing. Let's see if I can manually focus in on. Never really done that before. Well, I'm going to have to give you something else to look at here. Please stand by. Oh, we have some standby music. Okay, we're back, and I don't know that I did anything that's going to help, but we'll see. I think I tried to make some focusing adjustments, and we can get up to about 42x, and that's about it. So, not as good as we can usually do, but I'll try to watch it so we don't get too blurry on it. Thank you for your patience. This, my friends, is it's like an American Eagle flight, which I can't make out the designation of that airport. Grand Junction, Colorado. Okay. American Eagle Envoy Flight 3810. Yeah, we'll have some right here. 737-800 American flight. Flight 2017 headed off to Oklahoma City. And you're looking at Qatar Airlines Flight 729, which just touched down from Doha. It's an A350. So it looks like we've got two Qatari aircraft on the ground now. That one with the World Cup livery over there. And this one's on its way to the International Terminal D. Since the start of the pandemic, DFW hasn't seen as many international flights. Obviously, for a time last year, there were next to no international flights except for cargo missions. But Qantas, which had established an A380 route from down under to DFW, suspended that. And one of our Runway DFW viewers informed us on our last broadcast that the Qantas would be resuming flights to DFW, but not with an A380, a smaller plane. We will be seeing the A380 next, coming up in March, when British Airways establishes a service with the A380 here at DFW, and we hope to bring you that live. There's a plane that's taking off from the other side of DFW, from the east runways. I don't have that zeroed in on my radar right now, so I can't tell you what that is. But as far as where it's going. There's that Qatar flight waiting for a gate.
जैकेट चाहिए? नहीं नहीं श्योर? हमें श्योर ठीक है 2 जैकेट है ओके दे दे
And I'm back. Been doing a little behind the scenes work here. That's An A319 coming in from Silao. It's American Airlines flight 1733. Right behind it, we're going to get a Dreamliner making its way from Phoenix.
Oh, that's shattered. You see that? Yeah, that's no one's landing. That he just landed. No, that one just landed.
Let's pan over to the right runway. Plane just hopped into the air. And I've lost it in the sun, or in the glare from the sun. Sorry about that.
ये पैसे डालने का नहीं
All right, here comes the 787.
नहीं चाहिए five maintenance No, are you sure? Water है?
Oh, that helicopter.
हाँ,
The third one.
As I have said, this is not the ideal situation for, not the best place for aircraft operations which are taking place from the south on the airport.
Quite a setup there.
Thank you. Coming in next is an American Eagle flight 4371, which is inbound from Zacatecas, Mexico. It's an Embraer 175. And you can see the crowd we have here at DFW Founders Plaza this afternoon, with some interesting clouds dotting the skies. This is an American Airlines party, of course, but I did see a Spirit aircraft which looked like it was lining up down at the south side, but I'm not seeing it on the radar. It may have flipped over to the eastern runway. Something is glowing down there. There we go. Another Dreamliner coming in from Los Angeles, another American flight, 2811. Meanwhile, we will watch a launch here. Oh, there's a Spirit flight. Very difficult to miss those birds. Kind of a welcome relief from all the gray and red and blue of the American jets. Smaller regional planes get up off the ground really fast.
That's a really cool setup.
Look over at one of these MD-11s. I thought it was being loaded, but no, it looks like they're just doing some maintenance there. I think that's flight 1505 from Indianapolis. Let's see if that Qatar plane ever found a place to park over there. See the other one. It may be parked on the south side where we can't see it on the the international terminal yonder. But frankly, because of the glare, it could be there and I can't see it.
Yes. Oh, it's Six Flags. Oh, I see a plane landing. I see the plane all the way over there. Oh my gosh, there's like a bus or a train there. Over there, right here. Like a bus or a train over there on that pier.
There's a 787. That's almost America's biggest.
Where?
The real big one over there. See the red lights flashing on it? That's huge. Let me in the car.
Holy crap. Let's go! Here's Six Flags! Xander! Come here! What? Look what I found! Come here! Come here! Don't walk in front of the camera.
Planes are gleaming in the late afternoon sun.
Roll down. It's like roll down and you go super fast.
Welcome to Runway DFW. We're glad you're on board with us. Got another flight from Mexico just about to land. Oh, it's far away. This landing. Can we see it? There it is. Just touched down. Seems like it's 3 miles away. It's flight 4167, American Eagle flight. It's an Embraer 175 from San Luis Potosi. From our southern neighbors. I sincerely wish we had some more close-up action for you here, but the planes are just landing very far away today. This next flight is American Eagle 3555 from Montrose. It's another 175. And I can barely see that with my eyes. I can only see it through the lens of the viewfinder. And I wish I could bring you in as close as this camera is capable of doing, but it just doesn't want to focus that closely today. Sorry about that, Chief. Here we have a 737-800 coming in from Ontario in California. Another American flight, it's 1820. As I said earlier in the broadcast, if the wind was blowing from the south instead of the north, the planes would be taking off from this end of the runway and landing and coming in across us, and it makes for a more interesting images, I would say. But that's the way it is. You know, we've got another American flight coming in from Los Angeles. I think this is the third one in an hour. This is flight 1413 and A321. And it makes sense because Los Angeles is, or was, in 2019, it was the busiest route between from DFW. There was the most passengers traveled between here and LA. But I think this is more flights to Los Angeles than you could get at the rapid transit station here at the airport into Dallas. They probably only run on Saturdays. Well, I don't know. I'm just guessing, maybe 2 times an hour. It seems like we've had 3 in the last hour from LAX or to LAX. And I'm looking at the departure board now, and it's just chock full of American Airlines until we get a Viva Aerobus to Monterey at 3:50, which is about a half hour from now, a little less. That flight is a 737-800 coming in from Santa Ana. American 2114. And over... There's 2 planes there. I know, I've seen other again. That Dreamliner's on its way to Phoenix. We already saw one coming in from Phoenix. Take a break for some tarmac action. That is the International Terminal D behind that aircraft. And you just saw American Flight 2459, an A320, on its way to guess where? Los Angeles. For some reason, this plane always looks to me at a quick glance, it looks like the Concorde, like a mini Concorde. I guess it's that kind of pointy nose that does it. Concorde did fly to DFW at one point under the auspices of Braniff. Trying to find where to go. It went behind that building. No wonder I was trying to find it. Whoa, sorry about that. That was a 777 from as an Emirates 777 from Dubai. And I saw it with my eye and I couldn't quite get the camera over to it before it went behind the buildings. It landed on the east side of the airport here. So we'll have to stick with what we can see, like this one coming in somewhere. There it is. It's an A321 landing from San Antonio, Texas. Sorry, we couldn't bring you the arrival of the Emirates plane. It will have to come over the bridge over here to the west side to the international terminal, so perhaps we can catch a glimpse of it over there. Got a parade of aircraft coming in. Next up is Flight 2198, American Airlines from Austin. It's an Airbus 321. And that's it there. If I go in too much further, it's going to get blurry. Sorry. Ah, a United plane. No, sorry, it's Frontier. Sorry about that. I just know it wasn't an American plane. That Frontier plane is flight 509. It's an A320 going to Denver. See if we can catch this landing down here. Oh no, that's a takeoff. There is a landing, but in the glare, I zoomed in on something else. Glad to have you with us on this edition of Runway DFW. We are live at DFW Founders Plaza. That was a 737-800 American flight 1368 on its way to El Paso. The real-time time right now is 3:37 on December 11th, a Saturday at DFW Airport, the big airport. And we've got American flight 2385 now arriving from El Paso. And if you like what you're seeing, I hope you'll hit that like button for us. That helps us grow, gives us some status with the YouTube overlords. And at this time we are going to be zooming into a flight from Tucson. It's American flight 2927, an A321. Trying to keep an eye out for that Emirates jet, and there it is. It's come across the bridge from the south side, or from the east side of the DFW airport, and it is now taxiing to Terminal D, the international terminal. I'm going to break away to this Alaska plane because we haven't seen any Alaska flights today. Maybe the only one we see. to this big Emirates jet. So now we've got two Qatar Airlines aircraft on the ground here and one Emirates. So if you got a hankering to go to the Middle East, we got you covered here at DFW. No 380s though, unfortunately. I'm coming up just in front of this in a moment. You'll see an ambulance. Seems to be in a hurry, but we don't know if it's routine or not. It's headed in the direction of the terminals by a circuitous route. Coming in from Flagstaff is a Mitsubishi CRJ 1701ER. It's a American Eagle Flight 3249, and I think it just landed. But I can't, oh there it is. That's a combination of how small that plane is and how far away it is from where we are. Oh, there goes a fire truck. So now we don't know if there's something interesting going on that's apart from planes taking off and landing. And it's got its siren on. I don't have any air traffic radios that are on with me now. I have one, but I didn't have time to set it up, and I don't know if that would provide any enlightenment or not as to what might be or might not be going on. There goes that Emirates plane over to the far side of Terminal D. Because this is such a spread out airport with so many terminals, it can be quite a while before you, or after you land, before you can deplane, as they say. And it can also be quite a while before you can, after you pull away from the gate, before you take off, if there's a traffic jam. Now, there are lots of runways here, but still, just to get into position, you know, if you get assigned over to the, if you board at a terminal here on the west side, and you've got to then get your plane over to the east side, that can take quite a while. Plane's coming in from Manzanillo in Mexico. It's another Mitsubishi CRJ 900. Been in the air for a little more than 2 hours. just going to try to show you this for a little variety here. This is a United jet. And I don't know if that's about as close as we can get to it, huh? Coming in from Houston. And it's landing on the east side. So therefore we won't be able to bring you the full arrival. It's going to be ducking behind some terminal buildings and parking structures and hotels and things like that. It's like watching airplanes land from another county. We may actually be in another county, I'm not sure. I believe there's 2 counties, may even be 3 that the airport property is in. I know Dallas and Tarrant County for sure. That, I believe, was an A321 American Airlines plane headed to Las Vegas, Sin City. I don't know what the nickname for Lubbock is, but here's a plane arriving from there. It's a Embraer 175, American Eagle Flight 3610 from Lubbock. It doesn't take too long to get here from Lubbock. No, less than an hour, 49 minutes. I haven't seen, looking over at the terminal areas, I haven't seen anything that looks like any commotion which would be associated with an ambulance or a fire truck. Okay, let's see what's next on the agenda here at DFW International Airport. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. You know everybody always says that, right? But it's important to us, the YouTube creators. We need your likes and subscriptions so that we can get in good with the bosses at YouTube World Headquarters. So do that, would you? Please. Thank you. 3:50 is the time on this Saturday afternoon, December 11th, 2021. And we do have, it's kind of quiet right now, but we do have another plane coming in. This will be American Flight 2066 from Salt Lake City. Airbus A321. You'll just have to believe me when I say there are times when these planes are coming and going so fast that we can't even pan from one to the other. But Saturday afternoon, at this hour anyway, probably is not peak hour. We'll try to hang out as long as we can. And here's that Salt Lake City aircraft. And as I said on that previous broadcast, I've made that flight probably half a dozen times. I had worked in Salt Lake and then came here for a couple of job interviews and then finally got a job. And to the best of my recollection, my flights back then were all on Braniff. The long departed Braniff with its flying colors. Remember those? They painted their planes in all sorts of bright colors, orange, green. It was just, they stood out from everything that was flying at that time, and even really today. There's not too many aircraft that gussy themselves up in those colors, and it was not consistent. They were all different colors, but they were all very vibrant, very 70s. What do you think? Were you old enough to ever fly on Braniff? Flew on them a number of times. I don't think I flew on anything other than a 727. They did have, they had a fleet of 747s, and they did have some arrangement with, I believe it was Air France, to bring the Concorde in here to DFW. And I'm trying to remember if it was actually painted on one side with Braniff logo or in the other side with Air France, or if, I don't think it was totally painted in Braniff, and maybe it wasn't at all. I just remember it having been. Maybe it was just advertising that they did that with. But yeah, the Concorde flew here. I think it didn't fly here direct, I don't think, from Europe. I think it had stopped in New York or Washington first and then flew subsonically to DFW. And now for your viewing pleasure, it's American Eagle Flight 3189. It's coming in from Chihuahua, Mexico. There are some planes, at least the radar indicates that there's some planes lining up for takeoff. They're going to be regional Dallas or regional American Airlines planes. And according to flight radar, none of them have destinations. Let's see if I can find any of those. I'm not seeing them. If you're watching this on a big screen TV, maybe you can see them. I can't, 'cause I'm looking at a 2-inch screen. No, I don't see any there. Could be a radar anomaly. Check out our fleet of UPS aircraft again, and I suspect that none of them are going to be going out while we're on the air. peak time for takeoffs and landings with those guys is usually the early morning or middle of the night. We do have a takeoff, and it is a regional jet, I think. I don't know, it says a United plane. Always nice to see something a little different here. That one's on its way to Denver. It's United Express, flight 4747. These passengers are on their way to Orlando. In that 175. Say hi to Mickey for us. I'm going to zoom into a flight that's coming in on the east runways. If we can find it.
Oh, that one's broken.
There it is.
Can you see out of that one?
It's an American flight from Mexico City. And it's going to disappear behind Terminal D. Or behind the Grand Hyatt Hotel, I guess. And yes, that tall white building is the Grand Hyatt. It's attached more or less directly to Terminal D, so international passengers have a place of respite, or I guess if your flight is canceled, might be a nice place to hang out. Especially if the airline is paying for it. But we hope to get up there someday. We can make connections with the right people, because that would provide a really cool view of the runways, and not just the runways, but also the activity that takes place at the gates, which we can just kind of barely see from here. So if you know anybody who works at the Grand Hyatt Hotel at DFW Airport, put in a good word for us, would you? Thank you from Runway DFW. Okay, let's have a little quiz for all of you who are watching right now, since we've got a lull in the action. What is your favorite airplane? Which, or you know, maybe one you've flown, maybe one you would like to fly. What is your favorite airplane? Maybe it's one from the past, maybe it's one from the present. But the one I'd most like to fly is the A380. No, I think probably right now, if I had to fly one, it would be the 747, because there just aren't very many of them left, at least as passenger planes go. The 380, I think, is going to be around for a little while, you know, a few more years in a passenger configuration. So I guess if I had to fly one right now, it would be the 747, and I don't know how I'm ever going to do that. Nobody flies them here into DFW anymore. Not to say that somebody wouldn't, but I think the chances are not good. So let us know in the comments what plane you would like to fly on, or what's your favorite one. This is an American flight coming in from Seoul, Korea. It is a Dreamliner. It's flight 280. And it is a journey that I have made personally on American Airlines. Now, I was just looking back at my trip the other day. It was in 2016. And back then they were flying 777s on that route. I switched over to Dreamliners. And that's a very long trip. It's this one's been in the air for 11 hours and some change. And it takes even longer to get there because of the prevailing winds, the jet stream. So everyone on that plane, I'm sure, is ready to stretch their legs a bit. Welcome to the U.S. That aircraft is headed over to the International Terminal, where they can check in with all of our friendly customs officials. And what time is it? It's a time check. It's 4:05. The sun is starting to get low in the sky now. And we'll have golden hour at DFW if we hang around long enough. And there's the Dreamliner. It's like a hush has fallen over the airport. We do have an incoming flight from Chihuahua, Mexico. It'll be an American Eagle flight 3199, a CRJ 701 with ER, extended range. I wish my Zoom had extended range. And we saw it earlier, there's a fire truck returning to its base. Whatever assignment it was on, it has completed. I'm looking around now and it's like siesta time at the airport. Nobody's going anywhere. Well, we appreciate you joining us on this blustery Saturday afternoon. You can probably tell from the wind noise that it's a little bit windy here. Wind's coming out of the north. Planes taking off from the south at DFW. But thankfully there's no moisture, nothing to get us cold and wet. That's the main thing. Should we have another quiz? We didn't get much response to our last quiz. Okay, here's an official Runway DFW quiz. And the quiz is, what's your favorite airport and what's your least favorite airport? If you've done any amount of flying, I'm sure you've probably got a least favorite airport. What's your most favorite airport? And there, my friends, is a Viva Aerobuses, if I'm seeing it correctly. One of the more colorful aircraft you will see on display. Kind of glinted at us in the sun. A Viva Aerobus, I was unfamiliar with it until I saw them out here. It is a low-cost carrier from Mexico, and that particular one was headed off to Monterrey, that A320, and it's apparently grown quite rapidly, providing not only domestic service but international service. And they have a fairly modern fleet, if I remember reading correctly. And they, of course, are competing against I'm talking to myself here because I'm seeing a plane with my eyes and I couldn't see it in the viewfinder. Looks to be a mesa. Is that a mesa? Was a mesa. It's operating as an American Eagle flight on its way to McAllen, Texas. We've got a takeoff now, headed to Grand Rapids. That's not it. There it is. Off to Grand Rapids it goes, and trying to see if we can catch a glimpse of this Delta flight, which was taken off from the other side of the airport. Yeah, there it is. As I've said, we don't see a whole heck of a lot of Delta operations here. That one was on its way to Detroit. I'm looking now for this guy, which has come in from Acapulco. It's an American Eagle 4104. In the air for 2 hours and 22 minutes on that long-range Embraer 175. Acapulco used to be a market that would be served by a full-size jet, not a regional jet. It is not as popular a tourist destination as it once was. At least not domestically. We do have an American flight lining up down there, which will be headed to Heathrow in London. I think we'll be looking over here for that. I think it's probably just pulled out. Can't tell if that's it or not. Should be, based upon the size of it and the direction it is pointing in. However, it may not take off from here on the west side, because in general, most of the traffic that is generally going to the west of Dallas-Fort Worth will take off from the west runways, and traffic's going to the east, like to Europe will take off from the east side. But that's not a hard and fast rule. It depends on what the dispatchers and the air traffic control towers are thinking. That was an American A321 flight 788 headed to Los Angeles. I think that's the fifth American operation that we've seen going to or from Los Angeles in just the less than 2 hours that we've been on the air. That there's American Eagle Flight 3846 coming in from Querétaro, Mexico, in Embraer 175. And meanwhile, this 777 is going south, and I think it would have turned already to the east if it was going to an east runway, so I think we'll get to see it take off. We've mentioned this before, but that kind of carousel-like structure in the background there is a big radar installation on the south side of DFW Airport. And we'll just pan over here and we'll catch a glimpse of an arriving American Flight 1550, an A321 coming in from Las Vegas, another very popular destination. Made that flight once or twice for conventions and on pleasure trips. Haven't been to Vegas in quite a while, probably in 7 or 8 years maybe. As we follow this guy over towards the terminal, we'll see what the status of that 777 is. As I suspected, I'm going to look over here. I'm going to move over here, but there goes that 777 over to the east side. It goes over a bridge which crosses the roadway which bisects the east and west terminals here at DFW. And we've got an arrival coming in that is something other than an American Airlines aircraft. It's going to be United Express Flight 5274 from San Francisco at Embraer 175. So we will make preparations for its arrival. See what we can see. You're watching Runway DFW live from DFW Airport on this Saturday, December 11th. It's a nice day. We've got some handsome clouds in the sky. There's the big picture. A little chilly, but not beyond reason for an early December day in North Texas. So here comes that United Express aircraft. Operated by SkyWest. And I apologize again for not being able to zoom in any further, but this camera is not liking zooms past this range right now. And that plane will be headed across the bridge over to the east side to Terminal E, where which is reserved, well, not reserved for, but it's the only domestic terminal that isn't occupied exclusively by American Airlines here. Theoretically, I guess if a gate was available at Terminal D, the international terminal, it could also pull up there. We're just kind of following this because of the novelty of it being not an American Airlines plane. We do get Delta, an assortment of Delta, Spirit, Frontier, and Alaska. I think we've seen all those here, if only briefly. We were talking about international service a little earlier, and British Airways does fly here. It will be flying, will be switching over, at least it says it will, to the A380 Super Jumbo jet next March. And as we've seen today, we get Qatar and we get Emirates here. We get Lufthansa, which flies, I think, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And a couple of those days it flies an A340, the 4-engined smaller jumbo jet, which has pretty much gone out of favor. In fact, I was looking it up yesterday, and the A340 is, I think Dallas is one of only 2 U.S. destinations, maybe 3. And it's increasingly rarely seen. Unfortunately, it tends to show up on days or times that I'm not here, so I hope to be able to get a glimpse of it. It'll be coming in tomorrow on Sunday, but I won't be able to get out here on Sunday. So I hope to get a glimpse of it. It's the first time I saw the A340. I was out here with my grandson, and it was. I looked up at it and I thought, what is that? It's not a 747, and it's definitely not an A380. What is that plane? Because I wasn't as aware of aircraft as I am now. And speaking of aircraft, so anyway, I had to look it up, and I found it was an A340. This, my friends, is a Volaris. Volaris. It's receding into a dot. So it's coming in from Guadalajara after about a little shy of an hour flight. It's an A320. So we'll check off another airline on today's Runway DFW broadcast. If you just tuned in, I hope you will like our broadcast, give us a little thumbs up there, and also subscribe to Runway DFW, because we'll be bringing you more of these broadcasts as the days go on. And if you'll be so kind to like our broadcast, YouTube will like us better and show it to let more people know that we're here. And so I thank you sincerely for doing that for us. I know you hear that from all the YouTube broadcasters. They say like and subscribe, and you just get tired of hearing it. But for a kind of a growing YouTube channel, you know, we just started up a little while ago, so it helps us a lot. And it doesn't cost you a penny or a farthing or a peso or whatever the currency is where you may be around the world right now. Volaris. It has one of the most unusual tail art, as if that's the right term. I mean, it looks like somebody's trying to, it looks like I'm trying to blur it out by putting a matrix on it. Like, I don't want you to see what the real tail art is. At least that's the impression it gives to me. It's interesting, but I don't know if it says to me Volaris. It says to me kind of anonymous. And we can get into that too. What tail art do you like on planes? I was a big fan of the original American Airlines, just AA in red and blue. I thought that was pretty cool. Back when the planes were not painted, they were just aluminum skin planes. But one reason American had to shift away from that look was because of the shift to composite construction on at least parts of planes, which didn't have, you know, they weren't made of aluminum, they were made of composite materials. And so they had to come up with something a little different. And so American came up with its now kind of gray and red and blue scheme. I'm not a fan of that tail art either. I know it's supposed to be some kind of a flag look, I guess, without looking like a flag so much. I don't know. I guess you know it's an American Airlines plane. Or American Eagle. If we zoom out a little bit, we'll see the east tower of DFW. There are 3 towers here. And I don't know if they're always occupied or manned. I'm not sure about that. But there are 3 towers that physically exist here at DFW. I'm checking the radar now to see what we might be getting in next. There's a Frontier flight coming in from Las Vegas, but it looks like it's lining up to go over to the east side, which kind of makes sense because that's where it's got to park. And you know what? I am going to have to sign off now because after 2 hours and 8 minutes, we're running out of battery power and I don't have any place to plug in. So I'm going to have to leave it there. We have enjoyed bringing you this broadcast from DFW International Airport. I hope you'll come back and see us next time. We'll probably be on the air, I'm going to say Wednesday. And so if we can make it on Wednesday, we'll see you then. And if not, watch for us here live on, or watch for our replays on the Runway DFW channel here on YouTube. So for now, as we say here in Texas, happy contrails to you until we meet again. Thanks for watching. See you next time.